When dealing with a falsehood, you're faced with two options. You can accept it or you can reject it. The basis upon which we take one of these actions is a product of our critical thinking capabilities and a desire to know what is true instead of confirming our bias. A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. On Brainstorm, we choose the hard truths over the comforting lies. Reason, compassion, skepticism. This is the Brainstorm Podcast.
And welcome to the Brainstorm Podcast, Skeptic Studio, the interview portion of the Brainstorm Podcast where we talk to a variety of folks with the intent to spread critical thinking, compassion, and skepticism. I'm Cory, and my panel tonight are Lisa.
I'm here.
And Destin.
I just got here.
And that's
Renee?
it.
Not here.
Renee is not here. And we are broadcasting from...
There's Dave.
We're not actually broadcasting. We're just recording.
I was real
Lisa's
curious
apartment.
about that. Where were you going to be broadcasting from?
Yeah.
Dave's not here, man.
I didn't set my flux capacitor to stun. I didn't know we were in the past. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Well, man,
that's right.
talking about flux capacitors, just to throw Cory off, because that's what I do. I'd finally given up on drinking soda. You're American, right?
I am, very much
Yeah,
so.
soda. And I'm in my local grocery store yesterday, all proud of no longer drinking soda, and Crystal Pepsi.
Are you serious?
Is it back?
What?
Which grocery store do you go to?
I mean, I know Canada's backward, but I didn't know it was literally in the past. That's amazing.
Yeah. But so I'm thinking like big sodas out there, and they're like, "Oh, this guy quit, quick."
So wait a
Get
minute.
in the field. Get in the truck.
You asked me if I was American, and then you confirmed the word soda. What would it be up north? Is it not soda?
No, it's pop.
Oh, you guys, see, we're soda and pop. Like, it depends. It's regional here in the States.
Yeah, it's true. I know a guy from Bellingham, Washington, who says so pop.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but I'm American. And we're like, you're literally born north of parts of Canada.
Yeah, soda's in the States, I think soda's kind of a South thing, but my family's from the South, so we're soda people, even though I think around us it's more of a pop location. But
How deep south? Like, Dad's your uncle south? Or?
no, it goes back a few generations. We've been in Chicago, in and around Chicago, a couple of generations. But if you go back much further, Southern Illinois, which doesn't sound that South, but oh my God, that's South. So it's South in practice.
I used to live in Mobile, so I totally understand.
Oh my God, it's not that South. No, that's like the equator of the South. That's the epicenter of Southern.
Well, I think I threw Cory off.
Yeah, Cory, did you have an intro or something you wanted to do?
Yeah. Why don't you do this professionally,
it's all
Cory?
good. I was in a process, and that's fine. It's all good.
We stupidly asked Destin to be here.
All the time. All the time.
We
Like, we
regularly
begged
ask
him,
him to come.
yeah.
So I guess anybody who is listening and recognizes the voice knows Tom from Cognitive Dissonance podcast. But you guys have been podcasting for quite a long time now.
Yeah, Cecil and I have been podcasting now for almost 12 years. So we got in it. There's very little in the podcasting arena. It's changed so much. It's a totally different space now. But yeah, we got into it about 12 years ago with a show called Everyone's a Critic, which is just horrible. And we did that for 4 years. I don't even know why we did it. We did it for 4 years before we spun Cognitive Dissonance off from that show. And Cognitive Dissonance really just kind of took off and became this really wonderful hobby for us. And that show is now about 8 years old, about 460 episodes, give or take.
Yeah, one of the most popular podcasts in like atheist and skeptic communities, right?
I think it is the most. Yeah. I guess I don't know how these things are measured, but yeah, we're fortunate enough to have a fair number of people that are good enough to listen to the show and write in and interact with us, and they give us a lot of opportunity to be a part of a really interesting community. So the show's changed. The show has literally changed my life. It's been this like incredibly rewarding hobby. I never suspected it would be. So.
I think your popularity is completely based on how much drama you create in the community and how much everybody eventually hates you. So,
do we create a lot of drama? I don't know that we create a lot.
So
Yeah.
I didn't think you were that popular because you don't say anything bad. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think the closest we got was when I got kicked out of Mythos Milwaukee for having a conversation. I think that was the closest brush with drama that we've ever had. So,
yeah, I recall that one after the episode where you talked to Thomas Smith, I guess.
Yeah, I went up to just on a lark. I didn't even attend Mythos Milwaukee. I happened to be in Milwaukee, and Thomas Smith was doing a debate with Sargon, and I texted him and asked him how it went, and he said it did not go well. So I was like, well, I'll buy you a drink. So I showed up.
Right.
The organizers were very kind. They let me in. I didn't have a ticket, and I was just like, hey, I just want to buy my buddy a drink. Do you mind if I come in? And they were very good about it. And so Haley and I went, and she's my wife, and we went and we walked around. We had a drink or two, and we kind of got into a spirited debate with Mr. Benjamin of Akkad, and they asked me to depart the premises, but that was about the closest thing to drama I've ever had in the show. But
well, that whole thing was a giant shit show.
Oh my God, it was amazing! What a debacle that was. God. And then I think they double down in like double debacle last year. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Even worse.
A lot less drama though, because like it's just the shitlords, right? Like I think you get more drama when you try to like cross like decent human beings, and then you're like, and then we're also going to invite these horrible, horrible people. But it's like, I bet there's not a lot of drama at the Nazi rallies either. You know what I mean? They're just like, when it's just the Nazis, like when they're just having cake and getting together and like checking out each other's hoods or whatever they do for fun. Yeah, like yeah. I guess that's probably pretty drama free too. There's nobody to conflict with them.
A lot of nodding and smiling.
I'm like, I hate the Jews cake too. Oh, okay, all right. What's in the pie? Like, what would you fucking talk about?
True. That's so true.
Yeah, you got to have something to push against, right?
And that's why we invite Destin. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
He says things. And
is he the resident Nazi of the show? Is that what we're saying?
No.
Did we just establish that Dustin is a Nazi? You said it here. I heard it on Brainstorm. Dustin's a Nazi.
He just says things that are wrong.
Well,
or mean.
I don't remember ever saying anything that was wrong.
He doesn't ever remember saying, I actually believe that sentence. That I don't believe that you remember ever saying anything that was wrong.
I say things people disagree with, but that's their problem.
If Dustin is wrong, I don't want to be right.
There it is.
There you go.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, actually, listening to Cognitive Dissonance is one of the reasons that we started Brainstorm.
Yep.
You're like, we can do a better job than these fucking schmucks. Holy shit, these guys? Oh my God. Buy a headset, Mike, and get brain damage. We can do a better job than this.
Actually, our first show, we were all drunk and we were using one crappy gaming headset in the middle of a table.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That had to sound so good.
We thought it was awesome.
Yeah. How long have you guys been after it? How long has Brainstorm been around? Tell me about
10 years.
That's
5.
5? Hey, I mean, like, jokes aside, like, that's not nothing, man. It's a lot of work to put a show out and to do it consistently over the course of half a decade. That's bravo to you guys, man. It's a hell of a lot of work.
I work really hard at it.
Yeah, you work real hard at it.
You need one person to work really hard at it. That's what I tell Cecil.
That would be Cory.
Yeah.
The rest of us sort of try to help sometimes.
I don't even try that. I just show up and Cecil looks at me with an angry face and I'm like, I know. I wouldn't tolerate me either. But he does, so we're all happy about it.
It's a good dynamic. You got to have something like that.
Right.
Do you find that it makes people more tolerant of you in your regular life? Because I, like, rather than just spouting my mouth all the time about stuff, I file it away. Like, I'll bring it up on the podcast, right? So I don't have to, like, talk people's ear off at work or whatever. People still don't like me, but still.
Well, it's funny because I have like a regular day job kind of scenario, and I think you guys probably do too. And you go to work and you hear people, and you're just like, I'm not like you. Oh God, it hurts to hear you right now. And yeah, maybe I blow my top more often, but most of the time I have this like bizarre radical honesty that I've started practicing at work because it's inappropriate and people don't know what to do about it, and it works incredibly well. Like, I'll just walk up and be like, yeah, I don't care about that as long as we make a lot of money off it. So if you want to write a big check,
high
we're
level
good.
what you do.
And then they all laugh, and I'm like, no, seriously, I just want a lot of money. So if we can work that out, that'd be great. And then it all works. Like, it's amazing. I'm in real estate, and like, I've completely stopped bullshitting, and I just absolutely say out loud everything that I'm just like, yeah, I'm not really interested in who you are as a person, but I'd like to sell you this thing. And they're just like, oh, you're so funny. And I'm like, I'm not even kidding. It just cracks them up. And I'm like, just buy it.
Who do you think is scummier, like car salesmen or real estate agents?
Oh, God, car salesmen. I'm not a real estate agent. Yeah, that's terrible. Yeah, that's easy, though. I don't know what it's like up in Canada. But I'm not a realtor, thank God. But like, realtors don't have to do anything. It's like, it's this amazing real estate in the States. I don't know how it is up north, but in the States, real estate is this bizarre industry where you can have no formal education except for some like weekend class bullshit where you take a test a monkey could pass. And then at the end of it, you can have a 6-figure income as long as you smile big, put your name on a park bench, and work a little bit. And the working is really just walking around and showing people a house you didn't build. It's like the fucking easiest thing ever.
It's a little different here because people have to qualify for mortgages.
Well, you have to. Yeah, the lending side is a little different, but not actually much. It's not like you can go to school and get a degree in real estate or a degree in lending.
No.
So everybody in the whole business is uneducated in the business they work in. And it's kind of an amazing industry to be so full of incredibly uneducated people who are just fucking winging it. Because they're not formally trained, because you literally can't get formally trained in lending, underwriting. These are not things you can get degrees in.
But it's got to be the kind of thing like you either have it or you don't, right? Like it's just sort of you know what I mean? Like somebody tries to sell you something and they're either good at it or they're not. Like you feel they're pushy and it makes you feel gross, or you suddenly find yourself buying a Mazda 3 with diamond coat. You know what I'm saying?
All right, I said some personal story there about a Mazda 3, but that's all right. A diamond coat pays for itself.
I'm the scummy, douchey car salesman of the group.
Are you a car salesman?
Yes.
I literally met Destin when he sold me my car.
Oh, that's
and tried
amazing.
to get me to buy the diamond coat.
I wish it never happened.
Wait a minute, that's amazing. Are you a used car salesman or new car?
I actually run a used car department.
That's like the worst one. That's the worst one. Oh my God.
It is. I've worked at the douchiest dealerships in the province.
Oh, you're like covered in the blood of the innocent.
That's only on Sundays.
Oh my God.
I go to the Nazi rallies.
I'm going to fucking fly to Canada and buy a car.
Except you can't import it to the States.
I can do anything I want. I'm American. That's how it works.
You'll be very confused though, trying to drive around with kilometers an hour. It was just be slow.
It's funny because I went up. My dad and I went on a fishing trip years back to Ontario, and we drove. And so we crossed over International Falls and we drove up. I don't know, a few hundred miles to wherever godforsaken hole in the ground we were fishing in, and everything was in kilometers, and it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna be able to drive really oh fuck, oh it's the smaller knob. And you're cruising along and there's like nobody. There's nobody where we were at. There wasn't even like the moose were bored. It was that fucking desolate.
That's all of Canada that's not Toronto.
Yeah.
I heard Montreal's worth visiting though, not Saskatchewan. That's where you guys are. I've heard bad things.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, stay away.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you like things, Jesus. I mean, if you like people and things to do, well, that's one thing. But if you like grass,
we have lots of that.
Ticks,
Lots of trees. Lots of lakes.
Like smokable grass or just looking grass?
We have that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Straight up legal here.
Oh, is it straight up legal?
Yeah, in the whole country.
There's stores. They popped up there. You can go
When
there.
did that happen? Just recently,
we're
right?
socialist.
October.
We're socialist.
I want to live in If it wasn't like 5 fucking degrees out and covered in mosquitoes, I would move to Canada in a heartbeat.
5 degrees.
It actually is 5 degrees today. It was
Celsius, though.
Celsius, which is like 40-ish year temperature.
That's horrible.
Maybe 20.
Oh, water freezes at 32, right?
Yeah, water freezes at 32, yeah.
It was higher than 32.
Yeah,
I said
maybe
40.
something. Yeah, you're right.
So see how I was right and you said something wrong?
Okay,
I'm
but
just
who's
pointing
counting?
this out for posterity.
Clearly she's
Oh
counting.
my God, Destin's going to cry. I don't want him to leave. It's like, can't just be me and Cory. And we won't do it good.
Or he's got a restraining order against Lisa.
Against me. He can't be alone.
Yeah, it's not allowed, eh?
Oh, fuck.
So what do you do for a day job? You said you're in
real estate.
Real estate,
I actually work for a title company. So I don't know if they have. Well, they do have them because I know we have operations up there, but it might be a little different. So the title company is the middleman that makes sure everybody follows the rules, basically, and we handle all the money and we ensure that the transaction was handled the way it was supposed to be handled, and that the owner owns it, and the seller had the authority to sell it, and everybody who's supposed to get money got money. So.
There were no rules.
That's our gig.
American real estate.
Yeah, there's a few now.
Well, see, when it's American against American, then you have to have an arbitrator.
You kind of do, yeah. That's So in Illinois, and again, I don't know how it is up north, but in Illinois, like if you buy a house or sell a house, everybody literally gets together at a table at the same time, and they all sign the last piece of paperwork in this ridiculous ceremony we call a closing. And, money is exchanged at the same time the keys for the home are exchanged. And so it's all, the sale, the final consummation of sale happens in real time with all parties present. And that happens by the title company.
Yeah, that doesn't happen here.
No, because it's retarded. So, it's totally the dumbest way you could possibly do something, but a handful of states still do it. So I manage a group of people that supports we got like 30 offices in Illinois, so I got a group of people that supports the 30 offices. So
by your own admission, then you're an untrained monkey.
Yes,
that's managing a group of untrained monkeys.
Yes,
doing things that they're not.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm lying to everybody every day, and I tell them that. I'm just like, I don't know any better than you do, but you put me in charge, so the answer is X. And they're just like, what? I'm like, yeah, I faked it too. Yeah, it's bullshit. I have a degree in English literature.
You're in charge, then I will listen to you.
Yeah.
It's the same here. Like in car sales, you don't have to know anything about cars to sell a car.
Yeah, I have no doubt of that. In Canada,
you don't even need a driver's license to buy one.
Are you kidding me? That's how we treat our guns.
Yeah, you can buy a 12-year-old here can buy a car.
Oh, fuck you. Are you serious?
Yeah, they can't drive it, but they can own it.
But they can just show up and register it in their name?
Yep.
What?
Anybody can register a car.
That's crazy. I love it.
No, sorry. A 12-year-old can't. You have to be 18 to register. No.
I would think
that's not true. Any age can register a car.
Really? Yeah, you can't do anything legally binding in America under 18 typically. So you can't sign a contract for sale. So I could not sign a bill of sale as a underage person in the States. So I wouldn't be able to enter into it. Even if I paid cash, I wouldn't be able to enter into a bill of sale contract in the States.
You can't legally buy a car until you're 18.
But now what I'm going to do is get my flux capacitor out, go back in time, under 18, go to Canada and buy a car. I've got fucking plans now.
Back in time.
There you go.
Can I
Drink
say
some
something
clear
sad?
Pepsi.
Sorry. Yeah, but can I say something sad?
Sure.
I actually don't know what happens when you buy a house because despite my 14 years of university and good job, I can only afford to rent this 2-bedroom apartment. Can I just point that out? And then I'm just going to leave a pin in that. We can move on. But I just want to say that I
douchey
can't
car
really...
salesman. I'll tell you because I own a house.
Yes, I know.
We shopped and it took us 5 years to find one that we actually liked. We put in an offer. They countered. We accepted. We signed paperwork with our realtor, and then we moved into the house. That was it.
Yeah, that's a way better process than our ridiculous process.
You're like, why do you need to meet the person that used to shower in your bathroom?
I know, right?
Oh yeah, it's awful.
I want to see who was sitting on that toilet. That's a fucking look 'em in the eye moment. You know, it's like I want to see where my
the
cheeks.
first thing we did is we yarded out the toilets. They were gone before we moved in.
Smart
move.
New toilets.
Smart move. Yeah, I actually
what?
bulldozed the
Yeah,
whole house
yeah.
before I buy one just to make sure, just to cover my bases, just level the whole fucking thing. So,
well, it's
Could
America,
be contaminated, right?
Like if you bought it around 2010 to 2011, you probably paid what, $50?
Yeah, I've bought a few houses. I bought a house.
Then you hired some Mexicans to build it.
Jesus.
It's American.
It is. It's true, and we have 3 Mexicos now to choose from that aren't even Mexico.
You have Mexico North.
You know, we got like East
Snow
Mexico.
Mexicos. We're the Snow Mexicos.
What?
Right.
Oh yeah. Butch
What are you
called us
talking
snow
about?
Mexicans.
Did you see the
by
thing?
who?
Okay, so on Fox and Friends, for the uninitiated, on Fox and Friends the other day, they were referring to the countries which is Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, from which most of the migrants have been making their way north in an attempt to flee gang violence. And Fox and Friends, in their usual astute observation of world events, they had this like banner running like on the bottom third. They had this banner running about how, Trump was going to something from the Mexican countries. Yep. First of all, none of those were Mexico, and Mexico's the only Mexican country. Like, that's a country. It was the craziest, most like wonderfully xenophobic moment in modern American history, and we all just shrug now. Like, we're all just like, whatever.
Well, and you have to go pretty far south from Mexico to get to any of those countries.
I know it's
like Honduras is probably the closest.
Yeah, it's fucking far, because I'm going to Belize in November, and like I'm taking a tour that goes into Guatemala, and I was looking at a map because I'm American, so I'm uneducated, and I was like, I don't know where any of this shit is, and so I looked at it, I was like, God damn, that's far. Like, that is far away, and I thought, like, people walked. Legitimately, people walked. I'm going to take an 8-hour flight that goes, that fucking airplane goes 500 miles an hour. And it's going to take me 8 hours. And there are people who are like, you know what, my home situation is real bad. I'll walk out of here. And we're going to look at those people. I don't mean to get serious, but like, we're going to look at those people that were like, you know what? I'll walk from Guatemala because it's that bad, and I'll bring my kids. I won't bring my kids to a fucking restaurant because I'm too lazy. I'm like, you're going to misbehave. You're not allowed to leave the house. You go to school, you come home, you can't leave the house till you're 18. These people, they bring their children on a walk that's thousands of miles. And then when they get to the border, we're like, but what if they're not like good at being American? And then we don't let them in because somehow, like, what, they didn't prove their dedication to wanting to be here? And I did. Like, I woke up and was fat. And like, that's like the American, like, oh yeah, check mark. Bunk. That's it. It's fucking ridiculous.
Also, how bad is your country if you're watching the news and you see Trump and you see all the shit that happens in the States, and you'd be like, you know what? That looks good.
Yeah, right. Right. When you're like, oh, America, that's where I want to go right now. Cecil and I were talking about this the other day. It's like, people in America, we have this, we say this stupid bullshit. We're like, oh, greatest country on earth. And you gotta get right in the microphone when you say it. Get your voice low. Greatest country on earth. Oh, America. Greatest country on earth. And it's like, really? By what fucking measure? Like, literally name one thing you can measure by which people should judge others, like a society. It's like our healthcare outcomes aren't the best. Our healthcare costs aren't the best. Our education is not the highest. Our educational outcomes are not the best. Our happiness index is not terribly high. We're not the happiest country. We don't even like being here all that much. That's why the happiness index. Like, we're just like, oh, fuck. It's like we have this fucking bullshit American Eagle nonsense where we're just constantly talking about how great we are. And then it's like we get out the yardstick and it's like, oh no, man, my dick's 3 inches. I didn't want to mention that. Super awkward. It's just a nightmare.
The funny thing is, there are people here who want to be like Americans.
Yeah.
In what way? What way do they want to? Like, I genuinely mean that, because all jokes aside, I think Canada's an amazing country. I know Justin Trudeau, is involved in like the most milquetoast fucking scandal of all time.
And it's still being propagated. It's ridiculous.
I read about that. I read about that scandal from down here. I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
what scandal?
What? Like, I literally, I am not even kidding. I read 2 articles about it, and I was like, huh? Why? Like, we wouldn't even blink at that. We wouldn't even like. Oh my god! I would blow that man to have him as our president. I'd be like, yeah, it's cool, man. On TV, you can put it in. It's fine.
Like, with enthusiasm, or like?
Oh, I don't do anything half-ass. Come on now. American.
Yeah, he exhibited, I guess what one could call dishonesty, which is too much for many people.
Did he?
Well,
sort of, but not really.
How scandalous could this be?
It's Canadian scandalous.
Yeah, what did he bump into somebody at Tim Hortons and not apologize? What was the fucking scandal?
No, we apologize before we bump into people.
Yeah, I was like, oh, sorry, Harry.
Yeah.
I think the scandal was he said to the justice minister that he wanted that she should consider carefully a legal decision she was making about a big company that had a lot of employees in his riding, like what you would call his what do you call it? There's
constituency.
Right. Yeah. So, well, that's the same word either way. Anyways, and so she interpreted him to be saying, "Oh, do it my way or else." And he says he meant it. Oh no, I was just pointing out that this is true. Right. And then basically everything kind of came from there. And she blew the whistle on this, and then somebody else stood up for her, and they both got thrown out of the Liberal Party. And that was pretty.
And she recorded a conversation on. That she had with somebody, which is a little bit, I mean, it seems unethical, but
so when you have a scandal where it's like, wow,
yeah, that's not even, seriously, like, you're talking and I was like, when are you going to get to the scandal part? Are you kidding me?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, just one minute of Donald Trump talking is more scandalous. I mean, not even, like what did I see his clip the other day? He denied knowing anything about WikiLeaks. After saying, somebody asked him, "Do you still love WikiLeaks?" Which he literally has said multiple times before. And he's just like, "I don't know anything about WikiLeaks." Like, what?
It's been recorded. It's
like that's a scandal right there. Like, there's just you can't even.
The people that want to be American,
what the fuck?
They want to turn left and vote right. They want to be Republicans.
No, I don't understand how anybody wants to be a Republican. I understand, what's amazing is like some of the richest. So like here in the States, and I know it's a Canadian show, but like here in the States, the Republicans are propped up by a base of people whose interests are routinely ruined by the Republican Party, just absolutely skull fucked by the actual Republican Party. And it's like it's the wealthy that are obviously benefiting from this, but like not even these super ultra wealthy, your Warren Buffetts, those guys are all left leaning. All those guys look around and like, well, I'm not stupid. What it is old money. Old money in the States is like, well, I didn't earn it.
Old money and no money.
If you like what we're doing and want to help us keep the lights on, go become a patron at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. You can hear the bonus half hour that we record every episode and get a shout out when you support the show. Become a patron for just $1 an episode at patreon.com/brainstorm podcast. Or you can support the show by ordering a t-shirt, mug or other gear from our store at caffeepress.ca/brainstorm podcast gear. If you can't afford to become a patron or buy gear, then why not give us a rating or write a review on iTunes or Stitcher? Every rating makes it easier for people to find us. Thanks for your support.
If he a fascist, I'ma bash his head in. Cock it back, boy, and put the lead in. All you evil forces with your tiki torches.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's fucking crazy down here. It's a bunch of fucking illiterate coal miners that show up to vote so they can be like, American Eagles or whatever, pickup trucks and guns and whatever. And it's like all the fucking old money rich and the guys who are fucking dancing around on Wall Street are just like, yeah, great, stupid, vote for me. And I'll fuck you over. And they just fuck them over. And they're just like, I'm too stupid to notice. And that's the system we've got now. It's a goddamn disaster.
I don't got no money because they're taking your gerbs.
Yeah.
They're taking our gerbs.
I would genuinely move if I didn't have roots here. We've talked about it 100 times. I have so lost patience with the system here. And I have so little faith that it's going to get any better that in a heartbeat, we went to Australia 2 years ago. And I walked away, I got on the airplane and I felt genuinely sad that I had to go home because I was I would live here. If they would take me.
Go to Australia. Don't go to Canada. It's fucking cold.
Well, that's
here.
what I said.
Why would you go to the way better? It's like the better Canada. Really.
Right. It's Canada.
Why do you live here?
Summertime.
Funnier accents.
I hate the cold. Why do you live where it's cold?
I never said.
I don't know. I hate the cold.
I'm just saying, if one was totally going to objectively choose the best liberal democracy to live in, don't choose the fucking coldest one. Like that's all I'm saying, right? Like
go to the Netherlands.
It's warmer. Yeah, I like places with funny accents, right?
I like
Australia,
countries where everything there sounds cute and wants to eat and kill you and eat you.
Where?
Australia.
Oh, yeah.
The country basically means fuck you, I'm going to kill you. Everything there.
Just the other animals other than humans.
They have a plant down there
the
called a gimpy tree, which is amazing in and of itself. And I guess it's this tree, and if you so much as like bump into it, or if you're standing near it, and I'm not even kidding, and there's a strong wind, it has these tiny needle-like hairs all over the tree, and they are covered in some kind of irritant. And they're tiny, tiny, tiny. And the gimpy tree can be incapacitatingly painful to touch. And it can persist for years after contact. That's their tree. That's a tree there.
That's a tree.
Maybe Holland is a better option.
You got a point.
Yes,
you got a point.
They have tulips. It doesn't get too hot. It gets really hot in Australia. I don't like extreme heat either.
So is anything going to happen with this
temperate.
Trudeau scandal? Like, is it gonna hurt him?
Yeah, we're gonna elect the Nazi. That's what's gonna happen.
No. We all see that because of the filter of where we live in the West. The good thing about the fact that the people in the West want to move to the States and be American is they don't fucking matter. All of your population is tied up in Quebec, Ontario, and BC.
Part of the issue is that like the leader of the Conservatives is very uncharismatic. Like he is like an anti-Trudeau. Like I think it's going to be that would be a hard slog. If they had somebody as charismatic as Preston Manning or Stephen Harper, then maybe they were Mr. Sweater Vest. And anyways, so.
Yeah, he's Trump Jr. too.
What about Montreal? Doesn't Montreal have a significant population or no?
Quebec. Montreal's part of Quebec.
Oh, yeah.
Duh. Okay. Yeah. All right. I also knew that. Whatever. You're dumb. I'm not.
No, you're America. You don't need to know. The globe is America and not.
Right. It's somewhere in the hat states. I don't know. Like you're up there in the hat.
America, countries that have freedom, and everybody else that we need to get freedom to that happens to have stuff we want, like oil.
Yeah. Seriously, I think people here feel that way. I think there's a significant number of people here who are just like, this is the only free country. And it's like, it's one of the less free countries. And you're just like, of Western societies, it's not incredibly free. Like, we have incredible free speech. I will give us that. Like, we have incredible free speech. We can say any stupid fucking thing we want as loud as we want, and we can write it down if we feel like it. And there's basically no libel laws that have any significant effect here. So you're pretty much free to say whatever dumbass shit you'd like to say.
Especially now that everybody's a public figure because of online, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very true. So, we're in a place where it's like, just like we have an incredible amount of free speech, yet strangely we're in the middle of one of the most vociferous free speech debates in modern history in a country with unprecedented free speech. I simply can't understand that. I think that's because fucking Jordan Peterson is just confused all the time. Just desperately confused about everything except for his paychecks.
Well, I think that there is something there because I feel like I don't know how much time you've spent in academia, but I have spent too much time in academia, and I definitely noticed a shift in culture around 2010, 2011, 2012. And it was like there became like this lefter than left thing there where you really like couldn't say anything. So for example, I was in a Facebook group for astronomers, and it was all so my PhD's in astronomy, so it was all professional astronomers, and that you had to like show an affiliation with a university, like it was true scientists. And there was a controversy that came out with the British professor who said that like he didn't like hiring women in labs because they would follow their male counterparts, right? And I was like, yes, that's just not a cool thing to say. I mean, he sort of lukewarmly apologized, and I mean, he's an old dude, but he ended up getting fired basically from everything that he worked on. And I posted in the group, well, it wasn't a cool thing to say. He did kind of sort of lukewarmly apologize. So I don't know if he should lose all his job, like everything and everything that he sits on. And I got decimated. I got I was not allowed to have this opinion amongst scientists. Like it was just, it was, I had to leave the group. Like, it doesn't, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's just when you have this culture of like, oh, really, you can't even like step away at all from total outrage, and that man deserves to rot in hell, and he should, it was, I don't know, it was kind of toxic, and it definitely felt like I wasn't allowed to have that opinion. Like it was just, yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, not even like people disagree with me, which is fine. That happens
right.
Specifically in science. I'm saying like they said, no, you are not allowed to post that.
I wonder how much of this has to do with the fact that like we're in a place now where, I mean, go back before 2010, 2008, 2006, right? You had an opinion, and what did you do with it? You told somebody your opinion, right? You just said it to somebody.
There's no social media.
Right. So, I think part of what's happening is that now everybody has an opinion. Everybody always had an opinion. But now there's a place to put it. And there just wasn't a place to put it before where it had any reach.
Yeah.
And so now
people can,
all that seems to be happening is that people have an opinion and they feel like, well, I want to be able to write whatever I want to write. And then if people disagree with me vociferously about that, and then I feel like, I don't like that disagreement. I don't like the way it's kind of all nonsense, because you can have that opinion. Like you can have it, you can say it, you can express it. There's no rules or laws, but the social norms are changing. And
I think people want to segregate them, and they can now segregate themselves into their communities, right? Like, whereas before, there weren't so many white nationalists in your little hometown. Maybe now you can join an online group that involves many, right? And you can all just kind of live in your little echo chamber and just talk to each other and talk anyone down who has any bit different. I mean, white nationalism is just one example.
Yeah, but the incels have done
flat earthers too.
But I think the same exists on the left. I think people, there's certain groups where I would not voice certain opinions. I just wouldn't.
Right.
Like,
but I don't know that that's a bad thing. And I know that everybody in the world would disagree with me. But I'm not 100% sold that social media is a good thing. I'm really not. Getting online and being able to just sort of belch your opinion out into the world. We all have, now we're in a place where everybody has a review. Everybody has a comment. Everybody has an opinion about everything that they want to have. And that's fine. I think everybody always did. But now there's a forum for it, for this interaction of minutia. Because that's what most of it is an interaction around the minutia that previously we had to contend with people that had different thoughts about this. And so we had a better filter. And what happens, I think, is people they say, oh, this is what I think about this controversial topic, and then they're beaten up about it. And they're like, well, I don't want to get beaten up about it. Well, fucking say it. Nobody's making you write this billboard to the world, which is what social media is.
On the other hand, technology also means that a comment you make, or let's say a stupid thing you say, or you express an opinion that maybe wasn't very thought out, it has the ability to spread, right, in a way that's that, and the people can shame you internationally for one little thing that you might have said, oh, that was really stupid, it's just, and you can be done, right? If you have any sort of public position, or if you're in a position of authority within, say, a university or a company or whatever, you can just be gone.
Yeah, it's there's a great story. John Ronson wrote "So You've Been Publicly Shamed," right? And in it he relays a story about a woman who told a very off-color joke. She got on an airplane. By the time the airplane landed, she's fired from her job. And he presents that as, oh my gosh, isn't this ridiculous and unfair? And she said one stupid off-color thing, and she got on an airplane, and by the time she landed, the world hated her and she was fired from her job. And is that fair? And there's a sense that I have that wow, that does seem unfair, except for that we don't have a right, I don't think, to express things publicly, which is what social media is. It's a public expression. And then to have an expectation that a public expression will have any of the normal social rules or social norms around benefit of the doubt. We know these things don't happen. And I don't think we deserve or should expect that. I think when we say things publicly, that there should be a thoughtful difference about what's expressed publicly versus what's expressed privately. And I think up until social media, there always has been. And now it's well, I don't want to be held accountable for the things I say. That's not what I meant at all. What I want to say is any stupid fucking thing that comes to mind publicly, and then I still want an expectation of privacy.
Okay, so is that true though, or is it is it that people aren't really given a chance to clarify, for example? Like, is it all about getting that gotcha moment that, oh, you said that,
Yes.
you hold somebody that irrespective of what they meant or any sort of nuance involved in their opinion? Or maybe somebody, and I do this all the time, says something stupid and then recognizes, oh, that was stupid. No, that's stupid. I shouldn't have said that. Like, there doesn't seem to be a way to back up.
Well, thing is, when you do that, you retract before somebody else says something.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Somebody might call me on it and be like, no, that was just uncool. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right.
Right.
But there's no ability to do that publicly.
I totally
in a
agree with
conversation
you.
there is, but
I think it sucks, but I think it's the reality of what social media is, and what we're doing instead is saying, I don't like that reality, so it's unfair. Rather than, these are the new social rules about how we engage one another in this medium. So I should be more careful about what I put out in the world publicly.
I think we're getting there, though. I think the lady on the plane was kind of like patient zero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she didn't know. She didn't know she was living in this new world. Like, oh, fuck, I guess I'm...
And that's been interesting. I've watched that happen over the last 2 years really aggressively. And I've read a whole lot of articles about how much more careful people have become around their use of social media in general, and how much people are scaling it back. Young people are using it much differently than people my age. I'm 41. There's a lot less of the confessional, personal microblogging that I think was really kind of the norm in the beginning. There's a lot
Are people
less
posting
of that.
less of their drinking images? Like, are they thinking ahead to their young people think, oh, I want to get a job in 5 years. I better not post my binge drinking parties.
Right.
You know,
I mean, that's why young people use Snapchat, right? I mean,
because it disappears.
goes away.
What we have to understand is
only if there's no screen caps.
Yeah, right. Which it's so funny because it's like, oh, you get a message that somebody screen capped it, but you can't fucking do anything about it. So
Right.
Awesome. What I think is interesting is that what social media is really an opportunity for everybody to create a personal brand, in the same way that Nike is a brand, in the same way that, BMW is a brand. We're creating a personal brand, and we have to be just as careful about managing our brand, our online brand, as any of these corporations, if we don't want that to come back and bite us in the ass. And I think what a lot of people are recognizing is the less is more principle applies to social media. It's incredible to read stories about how it's affected things like divorce and custody cases. It's incredibly powerful and influential. It's 11% of divorces in 2015 cited social media as a factor in that divorce. It's a huge amount.
But that's how people find out that their partner is cheating on them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
It's one of the ways. Yeah,
that's got to be.
Or the person's being a total troll online and just turns into a total psycho when it comes to being on Facebook. That happens too.
It's interesting because I think people are using it less and less as they realize, like, this is dangerous.
Or they're using it, especially with the real name stuff, like the Facebook stuff. It gets just become intolerable. It's all just like, it's mostly my Facebook feed is brainstorm posts, and which is good. But then it's like baby boomer relatives posting about the weather, or like corny memes, or like that's pretty much like people posting the happy picture of the school play or what baby's born, But that's pretty in terms of the stuff that people will post with their name. Things that are more like I've kind of switched a lot of my social media to Reddit, and that's like people don't use their real names there. And people, if they're going to post something really personal, they'll often just create a throwaway account, and then it's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a weird world we're in. I've walked away completely from social media. I won't use it anymore for the most part. I don't.
Not even Reddit.
I don't do anything except for I check my Facebook once a morning to see if my wife posted anything, and I won't comment. I'll only heart for the most part. I don't type words anymore, with very few exceptions. I maybe do 2 or 3 things a year. I don't read reviews of any of my products that I put out, so I won't read reviews of the show. I won't go to our fan pages. I won't read our Twitter. I won't engage. I think I honestly think the whole thing is really toxic. And it's funny because and we're all skeptics, and all the evidence suggests that it's toxic. All of it. There's 100 papers out there that says this is toxic. It's bad for people in so many ways, and it's one of the few things that people are generally unwilling to behave skeptically about, even though the body of evidence is extraordinarily clear that it is socially and personally damaging.
But think about where the incentives are, right? Because, I mean, the companies that create social media don't have your well-being at heart, right? Like, they don't, they're looking to, they're advertising companies, basically. They are looking to fuel their advertising. Well, and then conversely, their best interest is in you being addicted to it in a way that is unhealthy for you, right? Yes. So, I mean, there's no way in which it's designed to be good for you.
What's changing with that is the advertising companies are realizing that it doesn't work. And a lot of the big companies are starting to abandon social media as a platform because it's so inundated with all the advertising that we don't see any of it. Like today, when you're on Facebook, do you remember a single thing you saw as an advertisement? No, you don't look at it.
I do because they advertise shoes I like because I click around on the internet and the cookies tell them I like certain shoes.
Yeah,
I saw ads for T-shirts.
Yeah, but big advertisers are realizing that they're not getting the return off the investment anymore.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to be in a place where we are the product and we think we're the consumer. You know, one of the most dangerous things that happens is like we get all these data breaches and things that happen, these consumer privacy breaches. And at least in the United States, and I don't want to speak out of school outside the States, we don't have any recourse when our data is breached with something like Facebook because we're not the consumer. So consumer protection laws don't come into effect because it's free and I'm the product. I'm not the consumer. Right. So you
have no idea how much that pisses me off because my kid is in school in Saskatchewan. They use software called Seesaw, which is based in the U.S.
Right.
It's a private
I don't know where the server is. I don't know where everything is stored. Sure. So I don't even know which state that my son and I are both susceptible to the laws of that state because I don't know what state it's in. But we are. We have to sign off on agreeing to being under those state laws without knowing what state the data is currently sitting in.
And
and with no recourse against anything. It's,
and to your point about like these sites are engineered to keep you on them, and they're engineered by some of the same social and neuroscientists that engineer the experience in casinos, and they offer a lot of the same casino-like experiences. So the idea is to give you a dopamine hit frequently enough that closing the browser or exiting the app makes you feel anxious or uncomfortable or unsatisfied, like something hasn't been finished. You can never review your whole Facebook feed, and that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Because that way you can't finish being on it anymore. And that's when you start looking at that and you're like, what you are doing and is not good for me. And we know it. And yet skeptics are particularly uninterested in being skeptical about the science and the research behind the ways that social media is personally and socially damaging.
It reminds me of an article that was in Cracked, I think in 2006 or 2007. They were talking about massive multiplayer online games and the random rewards that you would get the longer you were on. And it's very much a similar thing. Like it's like casinos, VLTs, or
VLTs are video lottery terminals.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
They're like one-armed bandits that you can have in just regular bars.
Oh, okay. Here. Yeah. Yeah. It's literally. I mean, I've read a number of articles. It's literally the same people work on these same platforms. They hire the same neuroscientists, the same social scientists to find out. They do real-time brain scan imagery to find out what makes people click the next thing, what makes people move, because it's so powerful.
I think what gets really damaging with social media is you end up in echo chambers, and it just happens because you like other people's things, and you end up in a group of likes where everybody likes the same things, and you get to the point where because this guy agrees with you about all these things, he's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah, right.
And now everybody now has the same misinformation that they all consider to be information. So now they consider their ignorance to be knowledge, and that spreads into other areas. So, and that's how you get shit like anti-vaxxers.
Yeah.
It's amazing how little you miss it.
Without social media, I don't think that any of this shit that we're going through would even exist.
Flat earthers wouldn't exist without social media.
Neither would incels.
They could find each other.
Fucking flat earthers. So this is about a month and a half ago. So these guys drive into the dealership, and they're driving this car, And on the window of this station wagon, the big side window, NASA lies.
Yeah.
Oh,
You've seen the vehicle.
And you're like, they're
they
mine.
came into our store. No, Chippy got them.
What? You didn't take that shit?
No, it wasn't my turn for a customer. It was Chippy's. And anyway, so they're talking, and Chippy's like rolling his eyes every time that they don't see him, basically. But, you got to be professional. You got to be engaging. And the wife kept saying that they need GPS.
oh my God, really?
You don't know. No, there is no GPS if there's no G.
We have FPS. It's flat position. Okay, it's do they roll in on flat tires? Is like, I mean, no. Okay, all right. That would have been kind of great, actually. Just commitment to the whole bit.
Flat earthers believe in circles. They know that circles exist. I think most of them, know that circles exist.
My favorite thing was that fucking Yahoo who built the steam rocket, and it was going to go up like whopping 3,000 feet, and it's like, a hot air balloon has this covered. You can get in a building, you can get an airplane and just look out the window and accomplish more than, your weird steam rocket, you Yahoo. Watch the Felix Baumgartner video where he jumps from the edge of the fucking world, and parachutes down. These guys I don't understand how they can possibly think this is true.
No, but did you not watch that documentary? What's it called?
I haven't yet. No,
it's on Netflix. Dude, you know what?
Amazing?
I don't want to overhype it because then you're going to be disappointed. But I personally thought it was very, they did it in a way that they didn't. Do you remember 25 years ago, there was this documentary that they aired on TLC every 5 minutes about beauty pageants for little girls. And they didn't actually judge them in any way. They just showed them in their natural state. And you were just horrified.
Yes.
And that's why it was so effective, because they never really preached to you as narrators. They do the same thing in this documentary. Now I can't, it's called Beyond the Curve or something like that.
Behind the Curve or something.
Anyway, so they just interviewed these people but the thing is, I feel like because they did it that way, you also have compassion for them, and you can see how every one of them kind of comes at it in a slightly different way, and how they have this sense of community. And if you replace the nuttiness of the flat earth, you can see how, even replace it with atheism, and people are like, well, I really like having this community. That's why I've come to this conference, right? You can, it's the same, you can feel the same feels being, hit. And there's this one point, and I'm sorry to give something away, but there's this one point in the documentary where one of the flat earthers, she's kind of there's been a controversy in the flat earth community where people are accusing her of various conspiracy theory. It's crazy, the stuff that they're coming up with about her, and she's obviously very hurt about it. And she's like, all these crazy conspiracies coming at me, I'm just like, it makes me wonder, could the conspiracies that I believe in be wrong? Could that
so
be
close.
wrong?
Are you serious?
And then she's like, yeah. And then there's a, it's almost a spark. It's almost there. She's like, no, but I know it's not.
No, not mine.
It just keeps going. And you're just it's so funny because you're just oh my God, you were almost there. And yeah, they interview real scientists and journalists, and it's honestly fascinating. And anyway, I shouldn't give any more, but it's honestly great. I think it's so well done, and everyone should watch it.
I think it's funny that you're American and you can't believe that these people exist.
I can. It's just so distressing that I want to block it out. You know what I mean?
See, for me, I didn't give a shit about it at all till I watched the documentary, because I'm well, that's just crazy people. I can't even, it doesn't even, I really couldn't compute it. But, having watched the documentary and realizing that they are real people, and I just feel I have more compassion for them, because I'm just oh, okay, I see. In one way, the education system has failed them. They have not been given any tools to learn logic or reason or anything. Yeah. Or they're so marginalized that nobody has ever bothered to teach them about why these things are valuable and useful, and it's just, but they kind of get there anyways. Anyway, I just because they're really on it. They really do believe it, and so they actually make up scientific experiments to test it. And all of their experiments show the world is round.
Oh, I saw that part. I saw a clip from that.
But they won't believe it, and then they go on, and it's just it's amazing. I'm like, yes, measure it. You can do it. Yes. Okay, now you didn't take the next step of believing your measurements. Okay, it's okay. It was, but I was just so I just felt really. Yeah. Anyways, I thought it was beautiful.
I always like to with people with flat earthers, with not so much anti-vaxxers because they're just stupid. I've always thought how easy it would be to start a cult, because
but you have to have charisma.
Even if you can get one person in 100,000 to follow you. right? What you need is a platform.
But you only get 1 in a billion. That you'd only get 7 people.
If you can get 1 in 100,000 people, if you can get a big enough platform, if you think of the population of even just Canada,
Yeah.
that's 350 people.
That'll do whatever you say.
In Canada, or in the US, it's 3,500.
Now you're getting somewhere.
I feel like you're selling me pretty hard on this cult thing, and I'm listening with all ears. Like, I'm buying the extended warranty on this right now. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Are you buying the diamond coat?
Rub in the undercoating, buddy.
So you can get 3,500 people in the States to just buy whatever you're selling, if you can reach enough people.
See, I gotta be starting a cult. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I like
you want a shitload of money. Just tell people you're Jesus.
I have often thought, like, I missed my calling.
You would get way better than 1 in 100,000 if you told people you were Jesus.
I missed my calling. I should have been a preacher. I would have fucking killed it. I would have absolutely.
Get 1 in 10,000 for sure.
Yeah. I would have. You know, the best part about being a preacher is you get to be like a marriage counselor too, and you could just give the worst advice on purpose just to watch it fucking blow up.
I like this guy.
You know?
That's totally what I would do.
It would be interesting, right? I totally want everyone to tell me all their problems. It's fascinating. I'm just like, tell me.
Like, oh, you're going to bring me the gossip? That's amazing. Here's some terrible advice. I can't wait till you come back and tell me how it went poorly.
Or people come at you with really, really, really terrible stuff that's going on in their lives. It's really depressing.
I don't want to.
And you can just be like, "What? You don't have problems. Why don't you come back to me when you got real problems?"
Jesus died on the cross for you. Like,
that's nothing.
So hurtful.
I mean, a religion is really just a scaled up cult, right? Like with like a longer half-life. Like, I mean, really
legally accepted cult.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly.
Just a weird magical conspiracy theory, right? Like, what's
whenever the Mormons went from a little group of crazies to like what people recognize as legitimate religion, like that's when I guess they transitioned. But it's actually the same thing. It's just how others see it,
right?
How many people are.
Well, yeah.
Straight up said, the best way to make money isn't to write books, it's to create a religion.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that he named it before he did it. It was like, that's what I'm going to do. Just so you know, before I do it. Also, this is now what I'm doing.
This bullshit religion.
And I fucking love that guy. That's so great. There's a part of me that, like, I think he's an evil fucker, but there's a part of me that's like, yeah, it's the same. It's hard not to think some of you guys had. Not all of you, not most of you, but some of you fuckers had it coming.
How is it evil if you straight up say you're going to do something?
Well, it's still evil.
It's a social experiment, and people fall for it.
I still like the part of me that like wants to wake up and look at myself in the mirror when I shave is like, you don't take advantage of people just because you're smarter than they are. You know, like. That's wrong.
But you can't explain that to a car salesman.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I know it's wrong, but there's another part of me that's like, it's wrong, but it's also funny. So,
well, a car salesman would say to that, well, you know, if you don't fuck people over, somebody else is just going to come around and do it worse.
How long have you been selling cars?
12 years.
Oh, my God. You sell any good ones during that time or all shit?
I don't sell on commission.
You don't sell on commission?
I get paid the same on every single car I sell.
Wow.
And I don't try to upsell anything.
Oh, all right. Well, then I can't even insult you. That seems...
I know. It's boring, isn't it?
It takes all the wind right out of my sails.
Yeah. People show up. They're like, I'm looking for a car. I'm like, well, this is what we got. You want one of these? Aren't you supposed to convince me to buy it? I'm like, yeah, they're really good cars. Let's take it for a drive. See what you think. You like it? Yeah. You want to buy it? No. Okay. Bye. That's it.
Man. Yeah, it's a little different in most of the dealerships down here. Is it?
We're a Mazda dealership. We have a couple 100,000 people in the city, and we have 4 salespeople. That's it.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's pretty high. Pretty high pressure in most of the places here. You know, like we've got a couple of places that are similar to what you describe, but for the most part, it's you go to buy a car and it's all the traditional.
Yeah, I worked in that bullshit, and it's toxic and it's terrible. And my wife hated me while I did it. So now I do something else. She hates me for other reasons.
That's for the best. I can't imagine her ever saying anything hateful, actually.
No.
So I guess we're coming up on an hour here, quick. And before I let you go, I wanted to ask you what you thought of the recent Judiciary Committee on white nationalism.
Oh, well, there isn't any. Isn't that what was established? Is that it's not? Is that there isn't any white nationalism? But if there is, it's not a problem. But if there is, it's white people are the better people. I think that's what we got out of that. What a fucking nightmare that we had to have a Judiciary Committee about white nationalism. Doesn't that just tell you that like we've descended into chaos? Like,
it is troubling.
The fact that we had to get together in a room and say like, hey, this has been, socially adjudicated 40 years ago, but let's have what we will pretend is a serious conversation about this. We have our president who said he didn't think that there was such a thing as a rise of white nationalist terrorism, despite the numbers showing very much the opposite. White nationalism is a growing and vexing trend globally. And we're behaving like we're the Pope in the middle of a sex scandal. We're just like, I don't know, maybe it's the gays. Like, we just can't be honest and look ourselves in the collective mirror and say like, yeah, this is a deeply racist country, and that's a problem. And we need to figure out how to break down this social tribalistic bullshit that like causes racism and exacerbates the problems of racism. And we need to like take a hard look at these things and try to figure out like, why are some people racist and some people aren't? I don't know that answer. Maybe other people do. I don't know that answer. But like we don't look at any of the questions seriously because we don't have any real national interest in solving them.
On the other hand, it just occurred to me as you were saying this, that when you think about it, the United States was founded on slavery based on partitioning people into slaves and not slaves by their race, whatever perceived race. And I think the economic system was founded on this, like the social system was completely based on this. And this went on for how many years? How many years did the United States slavery? Many centuries.
Yeah, especially if you count the way that we enslaved the Native American population as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the last 150 years or so, in fact, in a way, one way to look at it is that that's a pretty short time to have made quite a lot of progress. I mean, not enough progress and blah, blah, blah. But when you think about it, to go from literally institutionalized slavery based on race to at least on the books, there are laws against racism and segregation and discrimination. I mean, that's actually, and you also, even though you do have a large part of your population that is racist, you also have people like you advocating against it, right? Like you have a lot of people buying into this non-racist idea, right? So you actually,
I think the numbers show that more people are not racist than are, but there is a growing...
There's still too many racists.
Here's the thing about racism. Everybody's racist. The issue is coming to terms with the fact that you have racist tendencies and doing something about it and confronting your own inner demons and your own problems.
A difference in how conscious or unconscious your racism is, right?
There's a difference between the guy wearing a KKK hood and the
khakis.
And the guy wearing, well, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, I do genuinely.
Americans a race, right?
What's that?
Americans a race. Right?
Americans a race? Yeah, then I'm definitely racist.
Yeah. Straight up.
We never win because we're exhausted because we're too fat to get past the starting line. It's a terrible race.
I love the Americans. They're like, yeah, we win every war we're in except for all of them.
It's like what we should be doing is we should be taking a hard national look at and saying like, look, we've got a problem with white nationalism, and we have a problem with race, and I agree with it. We've gone really far, and I think that's great. We have further to go, and I think that's important that we recognize that. And I don't know why I don't know what causes racism. That's a question I don't know the answer to. Maybe there's an answer, but it's not one that me with my regular old liberal arts degree just has in my pocket. I think we're not having the right conversations, by and large, nationally around race. We're having...
I don't know. I mean, don't we know what causes racism? I mean, there's all this in every debate out there. It's always, is it nature or is it nurture? We know it isn't nature. There's no racist babies. No, you know what I mean? It's our culture. We're taught. It's social.
I would push on that and say
that's simplistic, but
yeah, I would push a little on that and say that, I am unconvinced that there is a strict dividing line between nature and nurture. I think that for the most part,
that's true.
Society is the soul writ large, says Plato, and I think that to a large degree that's the case. We build societies that mirror how we feel and how, in large part, in large part. And when we look across societies and we say what are the trends, then those are probably human trends. And Racism isn't a uniquely American problem.
No.
We're tribal.
No.
Right.
Well, okay, so
Humans are
fair
tribal.
enough. There's
That's the
always an
problem.
interplay between our genes and our environment, right? But I would say with racism, the environment plays a lot more heavily. But of course, you're right. We have to have brains that are capable of thinking of us versus them, right? Like,
Right.
I think the way that left-leaning people are going and the way liberalism is going is to say, well, we just have to include all humans in us. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's,
Yeah, I think we need to have like real strategies to recognize like so we need to have like real social strategies that can be
Green-blooded goblin.
scaled all the way down to the personal, that say like when I recognize that I am feeling things that are tribalistic or racially unfair, I need to know how to deal with that without being ashamed of it. And we don't talk about that. And I think that that's a huge part of how we need to have these conversations. And we don't do that. So people have
Also a
no
lot of,
tools. They have no tools on how to deal with racist thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, that's the key, right? You need tools to learn how to grow.
Mm-hmm.
You can't grow just.
I'd say there's
without
also
that.
a lot of back and forth, a lot of finger pointing between groups. Like BLM wouldn't need to exist if people agreed that BLM.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But having lived in the southern states, I get it from both sides. Like, people don't want to go into the black communities because they're afraid they're going to get gunned down by gun violence. Gun violence exists because black people aren't given the same opportunities. And it's that tribalism can't be fixed until you can fix the conditions that people
Absolutely.
exist in.
Absolutely.
And what's going to happen is when they go back to the table, it's not going to be talking about whether people are, whether white supremacy is a thing. They're going to go back to the table, I bet, in the next 2 years to be like, is it really bad to own a person?
Yeah.
Like,
what I'm hearing conversations about is like white
that's where
supremacy is
it's going.
okay. I'm hearing loud conversations where people are saying not that white supremacy isn't a thing, that like maybe white supremacy is okay. I'm hearing that out loud again in certain spaces. And that was not socially acceptable for the last 30, 40 years. That was anathema to at least up here in the north. And now you can hear that shit like kind of all over the place.
you hear it in fucking Washington.
Right. And it's outrageous. And I think that you've got a great point. One of the tools that we have to have in our tool belt is we need to have context and empathy. We need to contextualize the situations that people live in. We have to have.
Well, I don't have empathy.
Yeah. Well, context then. You got to be able to say, like, what does it mean to grow up and not, I mean, like, I look at the way I grew up. I grew up middle class. Like, I went to a nice school. I was always safe. I had certain opportunities that were afforded to me because of the fact that I never had to worry about whether I was going to have lunch, whether I was going to be safe going to school, whether or not my educational experience was going to be good enough to get me into a post-secondary education. So those were privileges I never had to think about.
Let me interrupt you for a quick second. So that's middle class, right?
Yeah.
To somebody living in South Detroit, that's upper
I know.
class.
And it's
You're the 1%.
I know that I'm the
motherfucker.
one. It's funny. It's funny because I fully fucking recognize that, and that's one thing to recognize, like, where you're at, but you have to see the difference and see that gap and play it out and see and understand how other people live. And I don't know that we're doing a good job doing that. I know that we're not.
I also would like to flag that there's some kids who grow up feeling not only that they're unsafe at school or in their neighborhood or whatever, but also at home.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that actually crosses social classes, but yeah, that's a definite problem.
Well, that's a
happy note to end.
Yeah, dark spot
Can
to
I
end
give a
on.
suggestion?
Sure.
Because I'm going to become a potty mouth about this, I'm sure, more and more over time. However, there is a well-studied and established technique for dealing with unwanted thoughts, including, say, racist thoughts or whatever, and that is meditation. That's a practice that works to allow you to observe your thoughts and observe them as thoughts, and I don't know, allows you to come to terms with it somehow. I don't know exactly how it works, but it is well-studied and is a thing. So
I was having a glass with an ice cube and a bit of scotch and just staring into the ice cube as you drink your scotch.
that sounds like you're very in the moment if you're doing that.
That's
I
meditative.
thought you said
though.
meditation. Yeah, I'm right on. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not thinking about the past or the future. You're just thinking about your scotch. That's fine.
awesome. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, guys.
It was an awesome conversation.
Lots of fun.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
I would normally get you to plug your stuff, but I think everybody who listens to us probably already knows who we are.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, listen to Citation Needed as well. If you're not listening to that show, that's a lot of fun. So check that out as well. It's another great project that Cecil, myself, and then the Puzzle and the Thunderstorm guys are working on.
Yeah, that is a hilarious show.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks again.
All right, take care, guys.
Hey, folks, it's just Cory here, inserting a little bit at the end of this conversation. During this next ad break, before we go to the outro, I'm going to add in a song from Dave's new project, Femme Fragile. It's really good, and they don't have anything quite yet where you can find it to purchase or stream, but Dave said that you can follow them on Instagram, and their Insta is Femme Fragile Music. I'll include a link to that in the show notes, and it will be streaming available on May 3rd. So look for it on various streaming services on May 3rd. This is Femme Fragile, and the song is Save Yourself.
Laying out the candles to make it light up. If your skepticism is socially conscious and doesn't take itself too seriously, you might like Life, the Universe, and Everything Else.
Also, I shouldn't have to say it, but vaccines don't cause autism, and Andrew Wakefield is human garbage.
As we've covered on, I feel like half of our shows.
We could just start every show with that statement. Andrew Wakefield is garbage, you are listening to Life, the Universe, and Everything Else.
No, it would have to be Andrew Wakefield is garbage, fuck capitalism. You're listening to Life, the Universe, and Everything Else.
Life, the Universe, and Everything Else. Available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else.
For all the things, you can check out the show notes at our website, brainstormblog.net, and on our hosting page, thebrainstormpodcast.com. Thanks to our financial supporters, Magnus, Stephanie, Bob, Glenn, the Utah Outcasts, Zach, Kayla, Freethinker215, and H. Simpson support the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Keith, Jesse, Peter, Kim, Larry, Driffa, Rob, Richard, Daryl, Aaron, Destin doesn't suck that much, and the Flying Spaghetti Monster, sauce be upon him. If you want to join them and help the show grow, then you can do that at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. Or you can do a one-time donation at paypal.me/brainstormpodcast. Or go get t-shirts at tpublic.com/stores/brainstorm-podcast-gear. Our next live show is planned for May 10th, and our guest will be Yvette Duntremont, aka the Cybabe. So stay tuned for that. And if you don't already follow her, then head over to her website, thecybabe.com, to see what she's about. I want to give a special thanks to Tom Cory for joining us on the Skeptic Studio portion. You can find more of his stuff at dissonancepod.com. Thanks to Dave for our intro music. Thanks to Aaron Rabinowitz from Embrace the Void for doing the voiceover for our intro. You can find his stuff at voidpod.com. Thanks to Alex Kepper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover for our ads, and thanks to Jason Camo for the outro music. You can find his stuff at aloststateofmind.com. All music played is either with permission or under the SOCAN license to play. For more information on SOCAN, you can check out the music license info page on our website, brainstormblog.net. What?
Just made noise.
What? I want to apologize for the lack of bonus content with the full crew lately. We always seem to run into some kind of roadblock, but we will do that eventually. More bonus content.
Keanu Reeves, 2020.
Remember to give us a rating, a thumbs up, or a fave on your podcatcher of choice. Join our Facebook group, like our page, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our subreddit, share the show, and spread the word. The more you share, comment, and like our stuff, the more it helps the show grow. Thanks for joining me. Thank you for listening, and remember, the truth matters.